Today we are joined by a range of different stakeholders from the financial technology, from private sector, regulators, investors, entrepreneurs, and so on. And all of you have a very important role to play in the implementation of the Protocol on Digital Trade, which, as we have heard, was adopted by the Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the African Union earlier this year. And I will say a few more words about that later. The African fintech sector is experiencing a rapid growth and development, as we heard from earlier speakers. 6 African fintech companies have featured on CNBC's prestigious list of the world's top 250 fintech companies for the year 2024. 4 of these are from Nigeria, including PalmPay, Flutterwave, Kuda, and PiggyVest. 2 are from South Africa, including MTN, Yoko. There are others from Kenya, from Egypt, and other African countries. The featuring of these fintech companies in the list of the world's top 250 fintech companies is evidence of the innovation and the impact of fintech on Africa's overall development and competitiveness. It is predicted that for our continent to become the world's fastest growing continent in years to come, fintech will have to play a very, very critical role, and is estimated that with a compound annual growth of 32%, the continent of Africa is well poised indeed to become globally competitive on the back of fintech. This means that by the year 2030, the African fintech market will be worth around $65 billion, according to a report by the Boston Consulting Group. This growth rate is faster than in Latin America, which has a 12.5% growth rate, and it is faster than Asia Pacific with 8.5% growth rate, and Europe at 5.5% growth rate. Fintech companies are transforming financial services and driving financial inclusion and economic development, particularly for smallholder farmers and young people. Across the African continent, through innovative solutions, serving around 500 million that are unbanked, this particular objective of inclusive growth is surely but steadily being addressed and achieved. And therefore, I believe that in order for us to overcome this challenge of unbanked citizens and to ensure the realization of financial and digital inclusion, fintech is at the heart of that objective. It provides innovative digital lending solutions to SMEs and individuals and addresses the credit gap in many African countries, revolutionizing the financial services industry. Despite these significant opportunities, the African fintech industry confronts several challenges ranging from regulatory barriers, cybersecurity risks, infrastructure gaps, and of course, as we heard earlier, fragmentation in regulation. Fintech will significantly complement the other initiatives to promote inclusive, secure, and affordable cross-border digital trade within the context of Africa's digital transformation strategy, as well as the AfCFTA. As I mentioned earlier, the Assembly of Heads of States and Government adopted the Protocol on Digital Trade, the first of its kind around the world. I mentioned the contribution that my dear brother Moses played, his contribution that he made, rather, in the development of that protocol. So today we have a protocol that, at the heart, addresses a number of long-standing challenges. And allow me 2 or 3 minutes to speak to some of these very critical provisions of the protocol. First, the protocol prohibits prohibits restrictions on the movement of data across borders of the African continent. Previously, this was a significant challenge. It posed a significant constraint to investment, to the ability to commercialize data, to create opportunities for young people, software engineers, and of course it constrained the growth of Africa's data management and services capabilities. By the year 2035, the African continent will require 700 data centers to manage and process data across the African continent. Kenya, in this regard, has taken the lead. Close to where we are in Naivasha, there's the world's only green data center. I believe that with the prohibition on the movement of data across borders in Africa, we now have a very unique opportunity to accelerate the commercialization of our data, to position our continent for competitiveness, and of course, to create jobs for millions and millions of young Africans. This is a very important development indeed, the fact that we now are creating a single digital market space on the African continent. The second important aspect of the Protocol on Digital Trade is the establishment of an environment, a regulatory environment for digital infrastructure investment. We have already started seeing very positive signals from potential investors that range from big tech to small tech, who see the opportunity that the Protocol on Digital Trade presents in the sense that it encourages further investment in digital infrastructure for the development of our economies, the competitiveness of our economies, and to drive industrial development on the African continent. A third important aspect of the protocol is data protection. We now have a very positive step forward in terms of providing protections for data for citizens, persons that are engaged in commerce and electronic commerce, who may wish to ensure that as they are participants in Africa's digital economy, whether it is a sovereign or indeed a natural person, that data protection is assured. Another important aspect of the Protocol on Digital Trade is the affirmation that small medium enterprises will now be at the heart of all efforts led by the AfCFTA and the Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the African Union, will be at the heart of Africa's digital economy. Last but not least, a very important development of the Protocol on Digital Trade is establishment of a regulatory environment, a seamless regulatory environment for payments. 42 currencies on the African continent, the cost of trade, the cost of currency convertibility, we estimate to be over $5 billion annually. That is to say, $5 billion competitiveness forgone, innovation forgone, job creation forgone, because if you are in Kenya, your counterparty is in Ghana, you have to buy a third currency to trade. Think of it this way. When you travel from Kenya to Ghana, there's a direct flight. But until the Protocol on Digital Trade of the AfCFTA and the introduction of the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, which is embedded in the regulatory framework of the protocol, until then, going from Kenya to Ghana, you would have to start in London. This is how we were conducting payments. You want to transact with your counterparty in Ghana, you use a correspondent bank in another part of the world. 3-4 days later, your funds credit with your counterparty's bank account in Ghana. Quite an absurd situation. We have now eliminated this abnormality by introducing the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which the AfCFTA is a very strong promoter of, along with the African Union Commission, and led by AfXimbank. The technology has been innovated by AfXimbank. The liquidity for settlements is provided by AfXimbank, and we fully, 100% support that effort. The result is that as you and I speak today, you are able to make payments in local currency. Your counterparty in Ghana will receive Ghanaian cedis. The transaction is instantaneous on a digital platform. We believe that this innovation will significantly increase intra-Africa trade and significantly reduce the cost of trade on the continent. And more importantly, it enables us to once again address this objective of digital and financial inclusion by ensuring that smallholder farmers, youth entrepreneurs, small, medium, micro enterprises, that they too are able to participate in Africa's digital economy. So we are extremely proud of the Protocol on Digital Trade, the fact that it was adopted by Assembly of Heads of States and Government on the back and leveraging on Africa's digitalization strategy, that we are now well poised as a continent to overcome all of these regulatory fragmentations that existed for many, many decades. I am under no illusion that we will reach all of these objectives overnight, but I do believe that the very important first step has been taken. And that very important first step is introducing a single digital regulatory market on the African continent. This is a very significant first step. And as we implement the Protocol on Digital Trade, we shall do so working with you, the private sector, regulators, and of course, governments across the African continent. 48 governments in Africa have ratified the agreement establishing the AfCFTA, which means that this Protocol on Digital Trade that I refer to now has legal validity and legal enforceability in 48 jurisdictions across the African continent. This should significantly reduce the cost of business, the cost of investment, and the cost of innovation. Recognizing the importance of digitization and digital innovation, the AfCFTA, in addition to the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, has adopted other digital tools to enable trade. We now have, for the first time, an electronic tariff book, which means that an economic operator anywhere on the African continent, at a click of a button, will be able to determine with certainty what trade rules, what tariff applies to the product that they wish to export from one part of the continent to the other. We also have a digital manual on rules of origin, which is also critical for economic operators, providing much needed certainty and predictability enabled by digitization. We have a digital certificate of origin, which is recognized instantaneously as a digital tool for trade. Previously, generating a certificate of origin would take 10 to 15 days. With digital innovation, it happens instantaneously. In a very short space of time, working with AfXimbank and other development partners on the continent, We will roll out the very first of its kind on the continent, and that is Africa Trade Gateway, a digital platform that offers a marketplace that has know your client information, due diligence information, market intelligence, business connectivity functionality, and of course, embedded in it, customs rules, and the ability to pay seamlessly. All of this, we will present it in a single digital platform, Africa Trade Gateway, again, with the objective of enabling economic operators on our continent, small, medium enterprises, youth entrepreneurs, enabling them to participate fully in Africa's digital economy. Once this innovation rolls out, I believe yet again, it will be evidence that we are committed to addressing the challenges of Africa's digital economy and also seizing the opportunities that Africa's digital economy presents. Let me conclude on the note that my senior brother Moses underscored, and that is this very important objective of development. We did not introduce the protocol on digital trade for reaching profit margins only. Yes, it's important, but not only for reaching margins. We introduced the protocol on digital trade because we want to make sure we have inclusive growth in and across countries, that we position our continent for the fourth industrial revolution and whatever technological revolution comes after that, and that we become competitive as a continent. There's no reason why the African continent cannot be, for example, in the area of data centers, management and processing of data. There is absolutely no reason why the African continent cannot be as competitive as Luxembourg or Ireland in the processing and management of data. And so inclusivity, development, this is what digital technology, financial technology must serve. The imperative in our view must not only be profit-making, which is important, but it must be to address Africa's development objectives. And that is why agricultural technology, financial technology to enable payments by smallholder farmers, by youth entrepreneurs, that is why we introduced this protocol on digital trade. I want to end where I started, and I started by congratulating you for convening us today. And we recognize a very important stakeholder that all of you in this room are. And so I end by saying that this challenge of implementing this protocol should not be the responsibility only of the African Union, of governments, of ICT authorities. It must be a collective responsibility of all of us as Africans to deploy all of these tools and these technologies to ensure the development of our continent. I want to thank all of you very much for your attention. I wish you very good deliberations. Thank you very much.